Hey guys, welcome back. Let's start the process of solving example questions and problem solving about consumer theory by starting and hitting the button on marginal utility. Let me provide you first a very short and simple definition of marginal utility, the formula, and then we will move on solving the question and examples. Marginal utility is the change in utility per unit consumption. When we are adding 1 unit of consumption in one of the goods, what will happen to the overall utility level while other consumptions of goods and services are being fixed? For example, when we have a utility function u is a function of x and y, if we change the consumption of x, for example, x is banana. If we change the consumption of banana by 1 additional unit, what will happen or what will be the change in utility? Again, let me say, when we change the consumption of banana by 1 unit, by how much the utility level will change while the change in y, which is, for example, apple, is equal to 0. Suppose x is banana and y is apple. So now, when we increase the consumption of apple by 1 unit, by how much the utility level will change while the consumption of banana is fixed? So now, let me provide you the formula. Then marginal utility of x is equal to the change in utility per unit of consumption of x. And also, when the change is too small, we can use the partial derivative, which is the partial derivative of utility with respect to x. The partial derivative of utility function with respect to x. And also, the marginal utility of consumption of y is equal to the partial derivative of u with respect to y. Or another way is the change in utility per unit of change in the consumption of y, which is apple. This is the formula. This is the simple formula. This is the formula for the marginal utility of x, and this is the formula for the marginal utility of y. And let's suppose another thing. When we have, for example, utility function, that utility function or utility is just a function of one good, which is x. Just a function of one good. So when we are changing the consumption of x by 1 unit, so there is no other consumptions to keep that one fixed, because we have just one types of good in our consumption bundle, which is just only x, which is just only banana. So in this case, when we are finding the marginal utility of x, which is again is the change in utility with per unit of x, then now instead of using partial derivative, we can just use derivative, because there is no other consumption, there is no other good in this consumption bundle. Just you can write down the derivative of utility with respect to x. It depends on when we have more than one good in our consumption bundles, then we use the partial derivative. When we have just only one good in our consumption bundle, we can just use the derivative. So this is the formula for the marginal utility. And now let's move on to solving question related to marginal utility. Keep watching in the next video. Thank you so much.